yeah, this is the Slim Down and Strengthen Up program. Blake with the Seattle Athletic Club, and Jacob is our fitness director. He's not here with us tonight, so I'll be presenting here. This is week 4 of the program now, so this is our 4th presentation here online via Zoom. I like to just go over up front how to be successful with this program. So rule number 1 is just to simply show up. So if you're watching this, congratulations, show up. Number 2 is to participate. So each week we're giving you new tips and tactics to employ with your routine. So try to make one change each week, and over time those new behaviors will compound and you'll be building that healthy lifestyle that you're looking for. Number 3 is to be kind to yourself. As you make these new changes to your routine, you're bound to slip up. We're human, we're going to make mistakes. It's not all going to be perfect. Just be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like you would treat a friend. And lastly, just kind of like I just said a bit ago, make one small change every single week. And the smallest thing you can possibly do. You don't need to make a major change to your lifestyle. Just make one small little change, and that stuff will compound over time. So tonight's topic is I never realized what good sleep was like. So sleep is a great topic. Sleep is the best drug on the market, or at least that's what I'll say. So basically what I want to talk about first is how sleeping more will help you burn more body fat. So there's mounting evidence that shows that sleep may be the missing factor for many people who are having difficulty losing weight. So it's really not an overstatement at all to say that if you're trying to lose weight, getting enough sleep may be just as important as your diet and exercise. So according to the CDC, about 35% of US adults are getting fewer than 7 hours of sleep per night. But I don't know about you, but with my circle of friends, I think most people are getting far less than 7 hours of sleep per night. Maybe you're getting up to 7 with naps and catching up on the weekend, but night to night, I don't know many people who are getting 7 hours of sleep per night. Even sometimes I struggle to get 7 hours of sleep per night. So the general recommendation for most adults is 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, and probably more if you're really active or very stressed out. You need time to recover and let your body rejuvenate itself through sleep. Studies have found that poor sleep will slow down your metabolism, increase your appetite, and impair your memory and problem-solving abilities. All stuff that we don't really want, right? So with that said, I'm going to go over 6 different ways that sleeping more will help you burn fat and build muscle. So number 1 is it may help you avoid weight gain associated with short sleep. And short sleep is simply defined as fewer than 6 hours per night. So short sleep has been associated with higher BMIs and weight gain. So BMI is a flawed metric. It's simply the ratio of your weight to your height. So someone with a lot of muscle is going to have a higher BMI and falsely appear to be overweight. So it's not something I like to look at too much. But the fact that it's also been associated with weight gain is something worth looking into, right? So there was one analysis of 20 studies, including 300,000 people, which found a 41% increased obesity risk among adults who slept fewer than 7 hours of sleep per night. In contrast, sleep was not a factor in the development of obesity in adults who slept longer, anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. There was another study that found that short sleep duration was significantly associated with a greater waist circumference, which is an indicator of the accumulation of belly fat, which none of us really want. So, though lack of sleep is only one factor in the development of obesity, research suggests that it negatively affects hunger levels, which influences a person to consume more calories from high fat and high sugar foods. So it seems that a lack of sleep may influence your hunger hormone levels by increasing ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone or the appetite hormone. I like to think of ghrelin as the little gremlins in your body. If you're trying to lose weight, the little gremlins are like, feed me, and you don't want them. You want to silence those gremlins because that's where you get into trouble when you're trying to lose weight and you keep eating. And then leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full. So what happens is if you're not sleeping enough, ghrelin goes up and leptin goes down. So you're hungrier and you can't seem to get full. Additionally, many sleep disorders like sleep apnea will get worse with weight gain, which will lead to a cycle of poor sleep, leading to weight gain, and weight gain leading to poor sleep. So just a whole bunch of bad stuff going on there. So ultimately what we find is that poor sleep is associated with weight gain and a higher likelihood of obesity amongst all types of people. So number 2 here is it may help you control your appetite. So many studies have found that people who are sleep deprived report having an increased appetite and higher daily caloric intake. So there's one review of studies that found that those who experience sleep deprivation consumed an additional 385 calories per day. That's quite a bit, with a greater than usual proportion of these calories coming from fat. So we know that fat is an essential macronutrient. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago when we talked about food and macronutrients. So we can't necessarily draw any conclusions from this, but a higher proportion of fat being consumed from those that are sleep deprived likely points to an overconsumption of highly palatable processed foods like potato chips and ice cream. So, this increased intake in food intake is likely in part due to the effect of sleep on your hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin, like we just talked about. So as previously stated, when you don't get enough sleep, your body makes more ghrelin and less leptin, which makes you hungry and increases your appetite. So yeah. Number 3 here is it may help you make better food choices. So a lack of sleep alters the way your brain works and can affect your decision making. So this may make it harder to make healthy food choices and resist those tempting foods, right? So research also seems to show that the reward centers of your brain are more stimulated by food when you're sleep deprived. So what happens here is the cookies become more rewarding, and you will likely have a harder time practicing self-control when you're sleep deprived. So poor sleep is going to decrease your self-control and decision-making abilities, as well as increase your brain's reaction to food. So bad stuff there too, right? Yeah, so number 4 here is it may help prevent late night snacking. This is a very simple one. Essentially this is just a matter of giving yourself a smaller window of time to eat at night. So if you're staying up a long time at night, this is going to create a larger window of time for eating, especially if it's been many hours since dinner. If you have dinner at 6 p.m. and you don't go to bed until 1 a.m., it's a good chance you're going to get hungry again during that time frame. So, by setting ourselves a bedtime and going to bed a bit earlier, we can cut off our eating before we go to bed and stay away from the late night snacks, which tend to get ourselves in trouble. So, also if you eat too close to your bedtime, especially large meals, it may decrease the quality of your sleep and make sleep deprivation even worse. So if you have like acid reflux or indigestion or any other sleep disorders, you might want to limit your intake of food before bed. So I always just recommend cut your eating off, 2 to 3 hours before bed, and you'll probably have a better time sleeping. Number 5 is it may boost your metabolism. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate, which is essentially your metabolism. You can think of it as your metabolism. It's the total amount of calories your body needs to maintain itself at rest, and your metabolism regulates the calories in versus calories out. So just whenever I say BMR, just think of your metabolism. So your BMR is affected by many things, like your age, your sex, your height, your weight, your muscle mass, lots of things. And studies have shown that sleep deprivation may decrease your BMR. So this means that your body is burning less calories at rest, effectively slowing down your metabolism. Now, on the flip side, if we're sleeping enough, we can be a little more confident that our metabolism is working how it should be. Also, if you're exercising regularly, your muscles need time to sleep to repair and grow. Recall that muscle requires more calories than fat to sustain a rest. So it's in our best interest to have a sufficient amount of lean muscle in order to boost your metabolism. If you aren't sleeping enough, your body's not able to build the lean muscle that you work so hard in the gym for, kind of wasting your efforts. So don't do that. Make sure you're sleeping enough. Number 6, last one here, is getting enough sleep may increase your physical activity. So sleep and physical activity have a close two-way relationship. A lack of sleep decreases your physical activity, and a lack of physical activity may lead to worsened sleep. So many studies have shown that regular exercise can decrease the time it takes you to fall asleep and increase the overall quality of sleep across all age groups. So that's a good thing. A lack of sleep can cause daytime fatigue, making you less motivated to exercise and more likely to be sedentary. So in turn, if you expend fewer calories in a day when sleep deprived than you would after a proper night's rest, which can make achieving a caloric deficit for weight loss much more difficult. So ultimately, after going through all those things, we find that getting enough sleep is the absolute key to being and staying active, which will help you lose weight. So I just went over all the ways that sleep, a lack of sleep can make you store more body fat. And in turn, getting enough sleep can help you burn more body fat and build muscle, right? So now the question becomes, how do I get better sleep? So I've got a few things to go over here. It's kind of a step-by-step process, so we'll take it one step at a time. The first step is to simply build awareness, right? If you have a very sporadic sleep schedule, you're going to bed at different times each night, you're waking up whenever you feel like it, you're probably not doing that. But if you have a job, right, you have to get up when you have to get up. But there's a good chance you go to bed, whenever. You might be scrolling your phone late at night or watching some TV shows, and the time that you actually fall asleep is varied. So let's just try to build awareness around the time that we're most likely to fall asleep, just so we can kind of figure out, where we're at. And then, flash back to your childhoods and set yourself a bedtime. If you're going to bed every night around 11:30, just go ahead and make your bedtime 11:15. It's a hard and fast bedtime. Our bodies thrive on consistency. So if you can set yourself a consistent bedtime and wake up time, you'll be setting yourself up for success to succeed. So set yourself that bedtime. And then from there, take baby steps to go to bed a little bit earlier each night. So for example, if you're now going to bed at 11:30 each night, for example, do that for a week and then go ahead and cut back 15 minutes the next week. So now you're going to bed every night at 11:15, and try to do that each week until you get to a reasonable bedtime. Just keep adding that 15-minute increment until you're 7 to 9 hours away from your wake up time. And then hopefully you'll have a consistent routine in place. So once you have these times in place, you got to stay consistent with them, right? So try to stick to them every day, even the weekends. If I know I'm guilty of this too, like if I stay up late on a weekend, Friday night, and watch a movie and then don't get up until a couple hours later, it just becomes that much harder to wake up Monday morning. So it's in our best interest to try to keep that consistent bedtime and wake up time every single day of the week. And then theoretically, you shouldn't need the alarm clock. Now, I'm not going to trust myself without an alarm clock, but your bodies have this circadian rhythm that regulates the times you go to bed, you get sleepy, and the time you wake up. And back in the day, they didn't have alarm clocks. They just kind of got up when they needed to, or not even when they needed to, probably because there was less responsibilities. That's even a wrong word, but way back in the day when you just got up when the sun rose, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is you had a circadian rhythm that matched the sunrise and the sunset. Kind of a long way of going about that. So number 5 is to implement a wind down routine. This is probably the best thing you can do, is kind of create an evening routine to get yourself ready for bed. So, we need to be mindful of not only our sleep quantity, the hours of sleep we're getting, but also our sleep quality. And, having an effective wind down routine can assure that you're going to have better sleep quality. So, I guess the first thing to do would be to try to cut off your exposure to blue light 1 to 2 hours before bed. Now, blue light is emitted from screens like your TV, your phone. It essentially tells us that it's daytime and you should be awake right now. Blue light it mimics the sunlight, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? It's still daytime. Get up and get moving. We don't want that if we're trying to go to bed. So, if you can cut down the screen time, you're going to, be less exposed to that blue light, and hopefully you'll be able to fall asleep faster and stay asleep. If you have to look at a screen late at night, you can consider blue light blocking glasses, kind of a new technology that's come into the space recently. And they can help you with that blue light exposure so that you're looking at a screen, but you're not getting that blue light emittance into your brain. You could also download a software in your computer or phone to reduce the amount of blue light emitted from the screen. I have a software on my computer right now called Flux, and basically at a certain time, it just decreases the brightness of my screen, and maybe also the blue light emittance. I'm not sure about that, but it definitely decreases the brightness, so it's just less stressful on my eyes and my brain. So that'll be one strategy to try out. You should also be mindful of what type of media you're consuming late at night. So try not to watch or read anything overly stimulating, stressful, or scary. If you're always watching the news before bed, or watching ghost movies or something like that, it's going to be a lot harder to fall asleep. You can dim your lights kind of when it's time for bed, or like an hour beforehand. Just turn the lights off, maybe light some candles, or just keep it dark. Take a warm bath or a shower, just kind of relax your body. Drink some tea. Obviously not caffeinated tea, just more relaxing type teas. Chamomile, for example. I think chamomile is caffeine free. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a big tea drinker, but a lot of people are, and that can help you relax. And yeah, just find anything else relaxing to do, like reading a fiction book, journaling, meditating, stretching, whatever works best for you. Just a way to kind of get yourself relaxed and in the mood for sleep. So number 6 here is to set yourself up for success throughout the day. So basically the way to put this is you have 2 key hormones that affect your sleep: cortisol and melatonin. Most people probably heard of both of those hormones, melatonin more so associated with sleep. Now these hormones operate on an inverse relationship. So when cortisol is high, melatonin is low. Now, ideally, your cortisol levels should be really high in the morning. Cortisol is what kind of wakes you up and gets you started. And then melatonin levels should gradually increase throughout the day and peak at night when it's time for bed. This is why people take melatonin at night to help them fall asleep, because that hormone is linked to sleep quality. So, both of these hormones, that relationship that they have together, they are what's known as the sleep-wake cycle. And it's in our best interest to ensure a proper cortisol melatonin relationship throughout the day so that we can get ourselves into sleep a lot easier. So, the first tip here would be to just make sure you're eating enough throughout the day, and then consume some carbs with your last meal just to keep that appetite suppressed. But do try to eat that, 2 to 3 hours before bed, just so you're not having any sort of digestive issues or weird nightmares. I know that if I, eat right before bed, I get weird nightmares. I don't know about you, but yeah, not a big fan of that. Try to cut your caffeine off about 6 hours before your bedtime, if not earlier. If you have caffeine, too late in the day, it has a half-life, so it's going to stick around for a while after you consume it. So try to cut that off, midday or at least 6 hours before bedtime. Get more sunlight earlier in the day. This will help your body produce more serotonin, and serotonin will help foster the production of more melatonin. And then, this is hard for people that work late at night and they want to go to the gym, but if you can, try not to exercise within 3 hours of going to bed. So remember, exercise is a stressor on the body, and it increases your cortisol levels. And remember that as cortisol goes up, melatonin goes down. So if you have high cortisol levels at night, melatonin levels aren't going to be at their peak, and then it's going to be a little bit harder to fall asleep. Last tip here, number 7, create a sleep sanctuary. So this is all about managing your environment. And what this boils down to is just trying to keep your bedroom for sleep only. Now, I am not setting a great example of this. I'm in my bedroom right now doing the Zoom call, but I'm in a small apartment. I don't have much of a choice, but I guess I could do it in my living room, but I don't know. This is my setup. Anyways, I'm making excuses now. Be better than me. But yeah, keep your bedroom cool and dark when it's time for bed. There should really be no light, any sort of flashing lights, even your phone charger. You should try to cover that up or put your phone in a different room. That's another strategy, is to keep your phone charging in another room so that, it's not tempting to roll over and scroll through it before you go to sleep. If you sleep with a partner, you can use earbuds if they snore, or just if there's any other sounds, like me in the apartment building, sometimes the neighbors can be loud, so earbuds can help just to, cut that off, and so I can fall asleep peacefully. But yeah, if you can just try to keep your bedroom exclusively for sleep, so that your brain associates it with bedtime, then you'll probably have an easier time falling asleep right when you hop into bed. So that's about everything. I hope that is helpful. Just recognize that sleep is very, very important with regards to your health and fitness goals. And I hope some of those strategies for sleeping better are things you can implement. And if you can work up towards 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, I promise you're going to see better results. It could be the missing factor if you're looking to lose some weight and you haven't seen it yet. So give it a shot. Thanks for watching this video and have a great night.